Hi, I'm Robin Boyce, and we've got a lot of great information to talk about here today. We're going to be talking with the top cop and someone who loves to sing. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Robin Boyce, the City Corner. So glad you could join us this morning for a really good show. In the studios with me right now is a friend, that's someone I've known for several years. In fact, he made sure I remembered who he was the night or the day before he was picked as the top cop here in the city of St. Louis. I'd like for you all to meet our new chief, Mr. John Hayden. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
You were reminded me when we were there for the last gathering of the community to meet all of the finalists for the chief.
Yes.
I had no idea you were on the list. I had no idea you had applied. I had been involved with the beginning stages of with the community part and making sure they understood we needed someone there who got it. Okay. They were some tumultuous meetings, but they made a lot of sense. And in the back of my mind, I never thought John Hayden would apply. My friend, you know him well. You went to Luther North with him. He was there with me tonight, said, John Hayden, John Hayden. He just kept saying your name. And this was like 2 months before all of this happened. And sure enough, that night we went to that meeting down at St. Louis University Law School, and there you were. And I'm like, wow, great, great, great pick. So after they told you, what went through you at that point?
I was actually pretty overwhelmed. I was certainly humbled by the pick. But I also realized that I had a pretty important job to do as well. Yeah. And so I'm doing it, and I'm getting a chance to implement some things that I think are much overdue.
Yes.
And hoping that it's going to make a noticeable change.
It will.
And I'm hoping sooner rather than later.
No, it will be sooner, and I know you're going to do a good job because you got a good partner in Judge Jimmy Edwards as well, who was definitely a part of this whole new metamorphosis that I'd like to see become here in St. Louis. You look at this position, and you've been over North District for several years now. I moved back here maybe about 12 so years ago, and my brother, Frank Williamson, you know, is alderman of the 26th, and you come to speak at those meetings quite a bit. And you had some really good things to say to the citizens about some of the things that they can do, and you talk to everybody. You just make sure. And I saw some shots of you sitting in the community with a little umbrella set up over you. You are actually sat in the community to talk with people?
Absolutely. That was what I refer to as my mobile office. And so, you know, everyone always says that necessity is the mother of invention. And so when I would go to community meetings, people would say, hey, there's a street that's heavily, you know, a lot of drug traffic. What might you do? And of course, I couldn't have an officer just sit on the street. But I realized that I could sit on the street. You know, I had a laptop, I had a table, I had my sign, and I could actually prepare for crime meetings while I sat on a street corner. But it would be a place where it would be known drug activity. And so as I sat there, I recall seeing some would-be customers driving by and looking at me as though I was a crazy person. And then I was able to also notice that some of the people that lived over there started coming out and talking to me.
Okay.
And they do things like, hey, you know, that house over there is kind of the one that is
so people would come and tell.
They would come and talk to me.
Say, hey, look, we got a problem
And
here.
I was able to make some stronger relationships. And I really think that that's going to really be, that's one of the prongs of what I'm trying to do is have officers rekindle those relationships. And when you do that, you make friends and people are willing to help. Hey, people, I don't think that, or rather, I know that people that live on these blocks that see a lot of this activity going on, they're not happy with that.
Not at all.
And so they're willing to help. You know, there's some apprehension at times, but they're willing to share with us. They just have to know that they can trust us and that we're there to help. And so, like I said, a lot of the things that I would like to implement have a lot to do with interacting more with the community, building those relationships, bridging that trust gap that we know exists.
That's great. We were talking before we went on the air about some of the partnerships that you're building with Slate and some other organizations
Absolutely.
as well to help combat the situation. Because it's not enough to stop the drug dealing. You have to find something for the drug dealer to do.
Absolutely, and I mentioned to you, you know, even day number one in the seat, of course, is January 1st, and we had a double homicide on that day in the 5900 block of Kennedy, and I was very disappointed.
I'm sure.
One, because hey, this is inside the rectangle. Hey, this is not a good way to start the first of the year. But as I stood there, I realized that these were two young men, actually, honestly, lost their lives. But the point being is that the indicators were that there was some behaviors that they may have been participating in that are risky, and so I would hate to think that they felt that they were out of choices, and they end up in that condition. And so, along with my enforcement piece, and I've talked to Dr. Alice Prince. And she said she would be honored to go with us if yes, ma'am. Slate. She heads up Slate. But if we go into a neighborhood and we're focusing on a neighborhood, that she'd be honored to go to offer jobs. If we're talking about getting rid of this drug trafficking on a certain block, that she'd be willing to go to some of the same areas with me, bring her team along with us, and they could offer job services for people that may have been arrested before.
Exactly.
Also, the educational piece. So that's two right there. That's two social ills that combine with law enforcement that I think can make a big difference in the community.
The work that James Clark and Better Family Life are doing, and working in that triangle that you talk about, that's been seen all in the media. They are taking it a step further as well, rather than dealing with that individual who's been arrested or maybe in jail or who's just getting out. They could go and knocking on doors and asking, is somebody hungry in here? Does somebody need some needs pharmaceuticals? Does somebody need a doctor? Somebody need a job? Are you joining forces with organizations like that to make a difference?
Let me tell you a story that James and I happen to be a great example of how that partnership works. So there was a school in the area of Euclid and Coe-Brilliant.
Right.
They were struggling with the issue of whether or not they should close the daycare there because they had been hearing often shots fired in the area. So what James and I went to that board and told them about how we could plan to stop some of those violent incidents in that community. And what the issue was is that we had identified, when we were interviewing the young men involved, they were saying, hey, I'm carrying a gun, I have trouble with so-and-so, but they're naming folk by name. I'm having trouble with so-and-so. And I know that if we meet on the street, there's going to be, I'm carrying a gun, he's carrying a gun, there's going to be trouble. So what some of the folks that work for James, some of the counselors for Better Family Life, got together with some of our gang intervention officers that work for our community engagement unit, and actually went to the families and said, hey, look, your kids are involved in violent behavior. We're trying to save their lives. Is there anything that we could do to quell this? Is there a relative that we can help you get to, that doesn't live out of state or something? We really want to break up this cycle of violence that's going on in this block. And that was a partnership that worked. And I know I forget the number, but James Clark regularly references some 20-some-odd de-escalations
that he has
participated in, and that's been right along with our gang intervention officers. So excellent way to help curb violence.
Excellent. Some of the things that we discussed when we were searching for a chief this past summer, that we told the committee that was appointed by Mayor Lyda Cruzan, was that lots of changes need to take place on the police force, period, with personnel. Protesters dealt with quite a bit after the Shockley verdict and what happened. Everybody knows what happened with that this summer, and some of the things that we saw during protesting that were just egregious to a lot of people in the community. What are some of the steps you're taking? Because you still head up internal affairs.
I was there. I was there a few years ago. I was there for 6 years.
Okay, in internal affairs. So taking that experience that you've had with the police department,
absolutely,
how are you going to help change those kinds of attitudes, fix or get rid of the bad guys?
Well, there's two things that we're doing with respect to our protest response. Right now, my commanders, we're going really skirmish by skirmish, confrontation by confrontation, and looking at what went well on some of those evenings and what didn't go so well on some of those evenings. I happened to be out. For example, I was working night one when the protests actually started behind the Stockley verdict, and so I was there on several crucial nights to actually see, our interaction with the protest community, and so like I said, there were some lessons learned just in our response when I was the incident commander. But also, we're going back, even the ones that I was not there. Sure. We're going back to look at all of them, and we're taking them one by one, and we're looking at things that worked well and things that work so well. And when I'm done, or when I'm finished speaking with my commanders, the next group of people that I will reach out to is the protest leadership. Because there is such a thing as a good night, and people say, well, if there's protesting going on, how could it be a good night? I remember hearing the young lady that was on the megaphone say, we had a good night tonight. We didn't have any confrontation with police. We got a chance to exercise our constitutional rights. So there is such a thing as people exercising their rights and public safety at the same time, that they are not mutually exclusive. They can happen at the same time.
Mm-hmm. With reference to personnel on the police force and dealing with individuals who may not be too happy that they're there and just aren't very nice people. I mean, I could talk with you about some incidences personally, having to deal with people and just making phone calls and wanting to make a complaint about something that I saw in the neighborhood, but almost having my head snapped off. Are you going to have some work done with some of the police officers that you have on the force right now that need to understand people skills?
Absolutely. Out here, the other piece is that we are also, and we're starting from the top down, we're starting with the commanders. We're currently going through some anti-bias, anti-racism training. And so once the commanders are done, we will try to facilitate a way in which all our officers are exposed to the same training. And so we believe that there's an empathy piece that's embedded in that training that can help all of us get along better with some of the communities that we service. Mm-hmm. And hey, you mentioned my internal affairs reputation. Yeah. Hey, my reputation in internal affairs, like I was there for 6 years under two chiefs, it's strong. And so the department members know that I'm a fair person, but I'm also a person very interested in making sure that our citizens are serviced well, and that they are pleased with their interaction, our interaction with them, and that if that doesn't go well, that I'm encouraging folk to make complaints about that, and then we'll deal with that, whether it be training, whether it be discipline. But they kind of know that I'm really a strong advocate of professionalism, and that you're going to seek that from here on out with reference to making sure things are done. Absolutely. It's been a long way coming from Magic 108. Chief Hayden. Yes. Long way. That was a big decision that I remember you made when you decided to become a police officer. I remember. And so, hey, I was there at Magic 108. I was in sales. Right. And then and the opportunity to join the police department came, and I had to ask myself, was I more driven by pay incentives or commission, or was I more driven by community service? I could see you ready to make the move to do the right thing, and you did. Yes, ma'am, and I felt that what drives me more internally was public service. And you have done an excellent job in the past 30-some-odd years. Thank you so much. Thank you for not retiring so soon and sticking with it. We really do appreciate you, and we have your back. I appreciate you very much. Thank you so much for coming on City Corner. We appreciate you. And we will be right back with a lot more information on Glee Clubs that are doing so well. In fact, scholarships for Glee Clubs. I had no idea you can get a scholarship on a Glee Club and go to college. Come on back.
Life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire, but you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Hi, I'm Robin Boyce, and welcome back to City Corner. And in the studios with me right now is Mr. Daniel McGrath, who is a member of the Morehouse Glee Club. Wow, you guys, and you guys are so historical. You have no idea how. I was excited to hear about, get you guys on the show. Tell us a little bit more about this awesome concert that you have coming up pretty soon.
Yes, if you don't mind.
Sure, no, I do not mind.
But the Morehouse College Glee Club is coming to St. Louis. They'll be going on spring tour, and they'll be here March 11th, Sunday, March 11th, 2018, at 4:30 at Central Visual Performing Arts High School.
Awesome.
And that is, I do have to say that I think that's daylight saving time, so just be aware of
Thank God.
that day.
Yay,
yes, of the time. But this is a very historic Glee Club, as it is a very historic college. Morehouse College Glee Club was founded in 1911. There were pre-directors, actually, which began in 1903, but we're the official singing organization of the college. There have only been, since 1911, 3 directors.
Really?
Yes.
Only 3 directors.
Only 3.
That says a lot about a university, a college and university. Wow.
Yes, the history and the and the commitment that is associated with music with the Morehouse College Glee Club. We have a motto which was written by Claude B. Jones. He's a class of, double check, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Class of 1976.
Okay.
And that motto is the Morehouse College Glee Club is an eminent expression of brotherhood, a united force of dedication and commitment, and an unselfish labor of love. And we say that at the end of every rehearsal.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that says a lot about Morehouse. It says a lot about this Glee Club, that a college like that instills in young men the importance of character.
Right.
So that you have that kind of camaraderie. Now, you're a graduate from Morehouse now?
Graduate in 2016.
2016, congratulations. Or what are you doing right now?
I'm a teacher in the Normandy School District.
Oh.
At Barack Obama Elementary.
Yes. I am so proud of you. So you are a teacher now, and you are still involved with the Morehouse Glee Club here.
Yes.
Now, are there a lot of people here in St. Louis that are graduates or alumni?
There are definitely a lot. Names that I can't just pop off at the head right now, but one that I'm very close with, who's my mentor, who was my teacher in middle school and in high school, and he's a graduate of Morehouse, and he was in the Glee Club. Dwayne Martin Foster, graduate of 1992, I believe. And so he went to Morehouse, was in the Glee Club, and when I was in middle school, he was a new drama teacher at Normandy Middle School. I wasn't involved with him then, but he did make his way to the high school, and that's when I was in drama there and choir, and he pushed me. He introduced me to Morehouse.
Now, you told me you got a scholarship?
Yes.
In Glee Club?
Yes, in Glee Club, a Glee Club
scholarship. I had
scholarship.
no idea there were Glee Club scholarships available. Tell us about that. You had a little bit of a dilemma between whether you wanted to go to Morehouse or you wanted to stay here in St. Louis.
Yes,
tell us about
either
that.
Here, just, the senioritis of a high school senior trying to decide where to go to college. I was either somewhere here in St. Louis or Morehouse, and my family pushed me, friends pushed me. I was kind of against them, but something that was a catch was one, getting out of the city, and 2, the historical importance of Morehouse College, and the money, scholarships, and that is very important, a very necessary thing to consider when choosing a college. So
your experience at Morehouse.
Yes. Beyond belief, like in this current climate, we here in America, I think it was very important that I went there. I think it's very important that people, African American people especially, consider an HBCU, historically black college or university.
Nothing like it.
Nothing like it. And you just, besides the things that you learn, or the things inside, classrooms is needed, but the things that you learn about your history, you learn about all these other young, gifted, and black talented students who you didn't know were also in the world.
From other parts of the country.
From
other worlds, the world
exactly,
too, that come to Morehouse and learn, and you got a chance to culturally learn so many different things from people. Singing, pulling together something like you all have to do when you perform, do you still get butterflies and jitters a little bit before a performance?
Yes, all the time. But it's part of performance practice, and it happens, but each day is a new day, and I recognize that as, you know, a blessing. So, and you know, sometimes you perform for people who have not seen you before or seen the Glee Club before, and I think that's why we have the motto, to show that we're committed in performing, we're committed in the love of music, and each day is a new day, each audience is a new audience, and we can hopefully touch some hearts.
Now, is there an alumni chapter here in St. Louis where people get together and sing, or?
Yes, the Morehouse Parent Association, Morehouse College Parent Association.
Because I heard about this through Mary Harper Thomas.
Yes.
And she pulled this together, and she's a part of putting this whole concert together for you guys.
And Ms. Thomas has been so diligent.
Awesome.
She is just so awesome. She put this together. So anyone interested in attending the college, you can contact her. You can contact any alumni in the area. And I forget the young gentleman's name who was on national TV, I think ABC, who chose Morehouse. He made a video, and he had a shirt to give to his aunt and his mom, and they unrolled it and said Morehouse. And he lives here. I contacted him on Twitter. I forget his name, but Mary Thomas is the name to know for the Parent Association. If you just have any questions or would like to know about Morehouse, and I'm sure that we, as an association, could get things together to get information to students, or even, you know, go to Atlanta.
You'll have those things kind of available at the concert. For
at the concert, yes.
Yeah, to get people in. What inspired you about being a part of a Glee Club?
Well, I've always loved music. So just hands down, I was a Muni kid growing up, and I have my music teachers to thank for that, to getting me in that when I was in elementary school. Just love music, choir, show tunes, things like that. And then Glee came out around high school, 2009.
I was going to talk to you about Glee. That whole movement, it's just been, has that inspired a lot more young people to want to sing or be a part of singing groups like that?
I believe so. And in this case, the Morehouse College Glee Club case, Glee Clubs has a history of, in the 1800s, of being usually an all-male group that sing glees or small songs. But Glee, like the show, was like show tunes, like the show choir type thing, and that has morphed, morphed into the show tune choir, and I love that too. I love both aspects of it, and of course, Glee Clubs have, it's something about the human voice that people love to communicate with and tell a story. Singing is telling a story, especially, and you're not alone with it. You sing with a group, and that whole movement of Glee music is
it really is inspiring to hear people sing, and I think the camaraderie is best. That's what I loved while in high school. I remember the Glee Club that I was with. We sang the Ave Maria, and it was like, oh my God. And in fact, Mr. Gladney was his name, was the choir director at that time, had to record it, and it was just so beautiful. Just the relationships that you have afterwards. I'm sure that you still have great relationships with people.
Oh, yes.
That you can call on and talk with about that relationship. Yeah, it's become a popular deal with the Pitch Perfect movies.
Yes.
They're really goofy. Yes. And the different Glee Clubs that you see, and then a lot of the reality type shows that they've had on the air with reference to Glee Clubs getting together and singing and harmonizing. And Fifth Harmony was a group that came out of the whole Glee Club movement as well. Where do you see Glee Clubs going?
From here, I see Glee Clubs I still see Glee Clubs with the side of like show tune, like still the dancing and the kind of uniformity with what they have now, but in the future, I think we're going to see more groups, even maybe Glee Club on the radio. Like as you see single artists on the radio, I think you might hear a Glee Club on the radio and like during tours, things like that.
Okay, so you think that there's probably a lot more music, a lot more we're going to see come out of Glee Clubs, because then we've had some pretty innovative groups. Who come out of Glee backgrounds that are performing today and doing quite well.
Take Six.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I guess even the Morehouse College Glee Club has sung with Take Six in Atlanta.
That's right.
Here in St. Louis. I know that I don't know if I can.
That's right.
Take Six has been here, you know, with the symphony.
Yes, they have.
But,
yes, and they've been.
I hear that they might be coming again. We'll see.
Oh, really?
Yes. So
that would be awesome. And they are just awesome a cappella type. You know. So is that basically what you guys do? Is a cappella? Or do you have music backing you?
We do have piano accompaniment of wonderful student accompanists, and even drum accompaniment for a certain song in Yoruba, which is called Betelehemu. We have a lot of spiritual influences that are sung a cappella, and then, you know, things with classical music, things in French, things in patois, in various languages. And the difference with this traditional Glee Club is that you won't see any dancing or anything like that, like you do see with Glee or the popular things now, but it is concert format, but you will see choreography. With some certain songs, and we have such a plethora of repertoire.
Yes, you do.
Just from early American music with obviously spirituals. That's because that's what we are based out of. That's where we as African Americans come from. All the way up to contemporary things of today.
That's excellent. So this is going to be a lot of fun for people to enjoy themselves and have a lot of fun with. As a young African American man, you represent opportunity for people. Do you encourage other young African American men and females as well to look at singing and being a part of a Glee group, and that's something that can keep people busy and focused on other things?
Since I have become a teacher, I feel like it is a necessity. I get emotional about it because I've always been an advocate for the arts as an artist, but now that I'm a teacher and I'm in the classroom with today's youth and what the future will be, I think it is imperative that the arts are in school, that students are using that as a vessel to touch on other things, but that the arts must be there. And it is such a powerful tool to reach hearts and minds.
It is, most definitely. Daniel, I really do appreciate you coming in and talking with us today about the Morehouse Glee Club and the concert coming up. That will be happening again on March 11th, you said?
March 11th.
March 11th, and you can definitely look at the keys at the bottom of the screen and look up and find out where you can buy some tickets. It sounds like fun. I will be there. Thank you so much for inviting me. I had a lot of fun. I love your personality. It's contagious.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank you so much for joining us here on City Corner. We will see you next time. Spread the love. Have a good day.